This is an analysis of the UCO sailing team practice 11/13/2023, about 5 o'clock in the evening. The wind conditions were, from the water tower, it was reported as 135 at 5 to 7. That's mostly what we saw. I think it was a little bit lighter at times and maybe a little bit further left. What I've done, the range was 140 to 130. I've set these courses up at 135. Okay, right off the bat, a couple of things to look at is this area right here gives you performance data for each leg and then overall. In run 1, the distance traveled upwind was 189.73 meters. The downwind run, average boat speed, 1.26 knots. That's why I kind of think it was a little bit lighter than 7. Step 2, that's the run, 99.1 meters, average 1.25 knots. Second circuit, number of meters sailed upwind in first leg, 252.95 meters. Average boat speed, 2.12 knots. On the run, did a little bit more, 101.68 meters, averaging 2 knots. A little bit more wind in this circuit. Circuit 3, 249.97 meters, average boat speed 2.13 knots. The run, 103 meters, 2 knots. The fourth run, or fourth circuit, was cut short because we were running out of sunlight. So this one, last one, the upwind beat is really the most consistent. 200 meters, average 1.67 knots. A little short part of the top of the run, average 1.48 knots. Okay, we'll do a deeper dive into each course. Put this over. Trying to get this to move. There we go. All right, we'll run this at about 5 times the speed. Had a little bit of difficulty down here at the start. Notice a fair amount of time at actually 0 knots. This bar is the boat speed bar. This bar is the angle to wind bar. So we finally get off the line. Here it looks like came off the line into a header. Really kind of searching for speed here, bouncing between 1.4 and 1.8. Not a bad tack through about 90. Got into difficulties in this area. Again, really hunting around. and then getting into the tack. This, you can really see the boat got very unsettled. We really have the distance between here and really here before the boat settles in and we start seeing a smooth, settled boat and able to go fast. You need to kind of think about what went on in this area so that we can solve those issues. You can see here starting to roll into a bit of a lift. A little more breeze, hunting some. A very good tack in that not a lot of speed lost and very short full speed timing. Another thing to look at is, although this was rounded some, you can see that it's very close to a 90 or 95 degree tacking angle. That's what we're searching for, a minimum of 90 degree tacking angle. In light air, when you're searching for power, sometimes 95 or 100 is what you're going to get. Again, lighter air, searching. You can see here, seeing about 50 to 70. This is interesting right here. We'll go back and we'll play that again. As they came in, let me slow this down. As they came into this, you can see where 1.5, 1 1/3. It's hard to tell if these are real movements or not. Sometimes you get artifacts in the data. But here it seems to be pretty close. Pretty consistently bleeding speed. Probably not comfortable with laying the mark, and they're pinching. This is where it's really important. If you're not laying the mark, you are better off. You're better off putting the bow down, aiming for a point, say here, and then rolling up head to wind, shooting the mark and getting around, rather than going slow all the way through this stretch. And because you can see right here that as the boat slows, the heading drops down. Now we're talking about heading through the water. The bow will have been pointed further up because as the boat got slow, the grip that the keel had, or the centerboard had in the water, is reducing. Another thing that's interesting is that because of the way you pull your apparent wind, as you go around the mark, you should see an acceleration. And here, big deceleration, 1/2 knot, less than 1/2 knot, 0. Boat came to a complete stop here, 1/2 knot, complete stop. And now it's starting to move again. Okay, the solution to that is, one, to come into the top of the mark with some speed on, but also to roll the boat to weather and ease the sails so that you're using the hull to turn the boat rather than the tiller. That rudder is nothing but a great big brake. So again, balancing the sails and weight will allow you to get around that mark faster. Another thing to point out, if we back up a little bit here, we can see that hit a top speed of 2.5, right around here. It may have been advantageous to maintain that angle. Come down like this, averaging say 2 to 2.5 knots, then jibing and coming in, rather than pointing at the mark and going a full knot slower. You know, when you're only doing 2 knots or a knot and a half, you know, losing half a knot to 3/4 of a knot, that's 25 to 35% of your potential boat speed. You can see here some jockeying back and forth trying to find some breeze. But again, the closer you go dead downwind, the slower you go. Heading up a little bit gets your apparent wind going, and you can go a little faster. And you're constantly trying to balance going fast compared to going toward the mark, which we'll see in the next course. We'll shut that one down. Actually, let's do that. This is the second run. Again, you can see much higher average speeds, but a lot more distance. 25% more distance. And if you look at these angles, you can start to see why. If we say this is dead upwind, you can see there's 76 degrees off the breeze, right? So you should, if you're tacking through 100, you should be 50. So the theoretical heading should be that. All of this is extra distance sailed. Make that go away. Bring back our depth details, and we'll play this. Got to start. Quick tack. Everybody's looking at the right, possibly because of shore effects over here. Again, notice the boat speeds here. Climbing all the way up to here. But you've got this great big tack. Let's go back a little bit and see what our headings are going into that. We're sitting at 205 going into the tack. Come out of the tack. This is kind of our heading. You're moving around a lot. 205 to, let's call it 60. So we've got the history teacher trying to do math. 205 minus 60 is 140, 155. You're tacking through 155 instead of tacking through 100. Again, an additional 55 degrees. And there's where, you know, we get into issues here. Another port, and right here is where we add more distance. Okay, let's back up here a second and find, try right about, just eyeballing, measure angle. Okay, so if we do track this right here, and we go 90 degrees. Okay, I was pretty close. That is where you should be tacking. all of make this go away. Okay. All of this distance is wasted. That's extra distance sailed that didn't have to be done. Okay. This is because sailing too low, too fast. Need to be really conscious not only of your boat speed, but your ley lines. So use your traveler bar as an indicator of your ley lines. When something is lined up with the end of your traveler bar, that is a ley line. So the appropriate thing to do would have been to tack right about here. Go 90 degrees from there. They're set up right there. Come into the mark, settled. Everything's good. Okay. Again, going into this mark at about 60 and coming out of it at about before you pick out the left, 220. And again, going down, notice they were doing 2-1, 2-5, even hit 3-3 at one point. Again, if they could get 3, then coming down a little bit hotter, particularly in this range right here, coming down over here, jibing, coming in. Here's where sailing a little bit of extra distance probably would have paid. Again, sailed 101 meters downwind compared to 189 meters. No, 99 meters compared to 101, so sail a little bit more. That must be step 1, yeah. Okay, let's look at the third circuit. Step details. Again, notice the angles. May have been a little bit further to the left at this point. Yeah. But again, I want to point out these angles. Lots of distance sailed that didn't need to be. 249 meters upwind, 103 down. Average 2.13 knots upwind, 2.02 knots down. And quick measure of a little bit of a lift there, like 60-ish, which would be have you tacking through 120. Again, 20 extra degrees. Lots of speed, not enough altitude. So let's back this up. Between 2 and 2.5 knots, 2-1, 2.5. Again, very quick, but not very high. Even if you were going out to the corner, which is not recommended. One of the reasons why you don't want to go all the way out to the edge is it's very difficult to judge your ley line. In this case, well, 45 would be the tacking angle. No, it wouldn't. 90. Okay. Tacked before the... Oh, I know what I was doing. I was measuring from the wrong point. That, just reaching the mark, was 87 degrees if you were tacking through 90. So all of this distance was wasted. All of this distance was wasted because of the sailing angle. Okay, we have the same issue here. If we take this heading, add 90, that would have been a great place to tack. Again, tacking through 90, saving all this distance and this distance, plus placing the boat right here where could tack, get settled in, round the mark quickly. Now we're going to slow this down. I was too slow. Back this up and go around. Watch our boat speed here. We've got a tack, holding head to wind. So you come around, you've got 2, 2, 1, still got bearing off, doing 2-5 now. 2-1, 2-8, 2-5. Again, then notice this team carves down right in here. Just like I've said before, probably would have been better sailing out here, jibing, coming into the mark much faster. And finally, run 4. This angle looks a lot better right off the bat. We'll check it real quick. .48, just under 48.50. That's setting up for a, again, 100-degree tacking angle. Not bad, not bad. In light air, could probably shave it a little bit. But this one, again, we get into the same issue we had before. Because they went all the way out here and then tacked. Notice how closed this angle is. If you went out to 90 degrees, 90 degrees from there. You can see you're just short of lane. So if you to come out to here, and again, notice this angle. Got a lift right there, right at the end, and put the boat on the wrong side of it. So we go, say, here. $90. That's a nice, safe position to be in. So, again, we wind up with all of this distance. Let's see here. Try measuring distance. You've got 40 meters there. And probably 55 meters there. If we went, that'd be more than that. Anyway, about 60 meters. So a lot of distance given up on this one. All right, so a couple of issues that are pretty global here. One is sailing angle. Remember that you can sail high or you can sail fast. If you sail too high, you go too slow. If you sail too low, you go too fast and don't get to the mark as quickly as you can. Watch your sailing angle. 2, watch your tacking angle. Use your traveler bar as an indicator of when you're getting close to the ley line. 3, do not go all the way out to the corner. You're better off making a good tack in the middle. I use the 80% rule. When you get 80% to the ley line, you need to be looking to tack. That way you're not out here where even if you do tack on the ley line, the chances of a wind shift or a velocity change in this area are greater. It's hard to judge and the wind is not consistent. So come out to about 80%, tack, and go back in. Then at about 5% left, tack back in here, do your rounding. Remember, if you're coming into a mark on port, you don't have rights. So, got to pay attention to traffic on that as well. Lastly, on the runs, one thing we have not practiced and need to is pulling up the centerboard. Downwind, the centerboard is not providing any resistance to the sails. Pull it up, you reduce drag. Steer downwind with your weight and the sail. Also, downwind can benefit from sailing a hotter angle. Don't just point the bow at the mark and forget about everything else. Play with your angles downwind in your pre-race routine, and that will set you up for more speed around the course. Okay, that's the summation, and we will see you guys at the next practice.